Yukon's government is launching a first-time homebuyer program in the territory that'll see eligible residents receive low-interest loans to help them with down payments. The territory says the Yukon, or First Home program, will give eligible home buyers loans that would cover up to half their down payments on a purchase, and repaying the loan can be deferred until buyer's mortgage has been refinanced or paid off. Joining me to talk about all this is our mortgage guru, Clinton Wilkins. Clinton, hello.
Thanks for having me, Todd.
Indeed. All right, so what are your thoughts on this type of program, and do we have something similar here?
I think these programs are very, very needed across this country. As you know, homeownership is part of the Canadian dream, and housing is really at the forefront of what's going on here across the country. You know, many Canadians are struggling with homeownership, even when we're talking about rentals. And I think any commitment from a provincial or a territorial government for homeownership is really positive. In Nova Scotia, we do have a down payment assistance program where Nova Scotia will actually cover 100% of the down payment for 5% down. There are some requirements that borrowers need to meet, Todd, but it's great for a first-time home buyer. So, for example, they have to have a credit rating of at least 650. They have to have a pre-approval from an approved lender. They need to be a first-time home buyer and household income not to exceed $145,000. In Halifax, for example, it has a cap of $570,000 for a purchase price, which is right around our average purchase price. And other municipalities around the province have a cap of $350,000 and $300,000. So it just enables those first-time home buyers that may have great credit and good income, but just can't seem to get that savings done. It's a great way to get into home ownership. As you know, rent is very, very high. In Halifax, to rent a two-bedroom is around $2,500. So it's prohibitive for borrowers that technically qualify for homeownership, but just can't meet that down payment requirement. I did meet today with Minister Hickey from New Brunswick. He is the Minister of Housing, talking about putting a similar type of product available, or the same type of program available in New Brunswick. So we're certainly going to share that information with him. As you know, homeownership is really on the forefront at the provincial levels and municipal levels, and I think a lot of listeners are going to be watching and listening tonight on what happens with this federal election.
Right. So when it comes to how many Nova Scotians are taking advantage of this program then?
There are a lot of Nova Scotians that are taking advantage of it. Obviously, not everyone qualifies, Todd. But I think that they've expanded the program over the years. They've increased the maximum limit of the purchase price. They've increased the household income. So I think that there certainly is an uptick. Obviously, any commitment from the provincial government in terms of homeownership is important, and we need it. And I think I would argue, Todd, that we need even more commitment from our province and other provinces across the country.
Okay, so it seems to me that if in fact you qualify for this, it'd be no brainer, right? Why not take advantage of it? How do people know if they would qualify for it or not?
Well, the requirements that I mentioned earlier is part of the qualification. But getting a pre-approval from an unbiased mortgage professional, that we can now talk about the down payment assistance program, and we can see if the qualifications are going to work. When we're doing a pre-approval, we talk to borrowers every day about this program. And the way that it works is it's a 10-year interest-free loan. So it's amortized basically like a second mortgage. And then at that 10-year mark, it would be paid off. So no interest, but there is a principal repayment. And we have to put that payment into our debt servicing ratios when we do an approval for our borrower. So the first step is really getting a pre-approval.
Mm-hmm. All right. So would utilizing these government programs, is that something that mortgage brokers like yourself would do?
100%. We are running this program every single day. We're doing pre-approvals for borrowers that are looking to get into homeownership, that are looking to take advantage of this down payment assistance program. And we're actually being great advocates of the program as well, Todd. We're talking to consumers that weren't even aware that the province offered such a program to help them. Because oftentimes people come to see us in very early stages of getting ready for homeownership. So we're talking to them and making plans. And obviously, a plan is really important when you're going to enter into something as big as homeownership.
So why wouldn't this be better publicized? I think you would think that the government would be out in front of this and get this out and known to people.
You know, I think the province certainly could pump out more communication, especially around housing. As you know, Todd, this is a hot topic. You know, I think the province has had a program like this in different kind of iterations on and off for years. I think they really rely on mortgage brokers to be able to pump out this information. And obviously we do in our office. We're all trained on how to proceed with these types of transactions. But I agree with you. I think there is sometimes a gap in the communication, and that might be intentional from the province because they have a limited amount of money that they can work with for this program. We have had situations before where they have run out of money and they've had to pause it in different municipalities because they have different funds earmarked for different areas of the province.
Okay, what are some other ways that people can borrow a down payment?
So, number one is really the bank of mother and father. That's the number one way that we see borrowers getting into homeownership. And Todd, it would surprise you, but we see many borrowers that are getting gifts, even to the tune of like six figures. We're seeing $100,000 gifts these days. And the way that I think parents, their kind of perception has changed. A lot of these gifts are really being done because they say, hey, if my kid can't get into homeownership now, they may never be able to get into it. So I think there's some urgency there. The other one, which is really great, is borrowing from your RRSP. That is tax-free as a first-time home buyer, or if you haven't used the program for several years and you've gone through a divorce, you can use that program again. So that's a really great one. And we see, those are kind of the top two that we see. It's gifted down or borrowed from the RRSP. Obviously, there's lots of ways to make a down payment. You can actually borrow it from an unsecured line of credit if you want, as long as you can afford to debt service that.
Right.
And there are credit union partners in the province that are also doing cashback mortgages to be able to cover that down payment as well.
Okay, so it seems to me though, if instead of using my RRSP, if I could get a government program, that would be more advantageous for me, would it not? Or what's your take on that?
Well, we need to remember that this Nova Scotia Down Payment Assistance Program is also a loan, Todd. You have to pay it back.
Right.
So it really will depend on the tolerance in terms of payments. And through this program, there can be verification of assets as well. So I think some borrowers may not qualify for this down payment assistance program if they actually have the funds available to make a traditional down payment. So I think that's something to be cognizant of as well. And now, obviously, we want to get as many homeowners into homeownership as possible. And I think this is a commitment from the province of Nova Scotia to help these first-time home buyers, get into the market. Okay,
you mentioned homeownership and the fact that some people are concerned that it is becoming out of reach for some, and some would say that it's becoming a generational thing. How concerned are you that this problem is going to get worse over time?
The demand is very high, Todd. So I don't know if it's getting that homeownership, the dream is softening. It's not. I think it is challenging for some. Think about it. If the average house prices increase, but the average incomes have not paced at the same level, it is becoming more challenging for some borrowers. But the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation and the other insurers have now, as we said from last year, extended the amortization, which is helping more borrowers qualify for a mortgage. So for any borrower buying a new construction property, they can get a 30-year amortization. And for all first-time home buyers, they can now get a 30-year amortization. And I heard a stat from Sagen, which is one of the three insurers, that almost 50% of applications that they've seen since this change went into effect, Todd, would not have qualified if they didn't have a 30-year amortization.
Okay, how about on new construction? We don't want to get political here, but we know that it's election day. That's right, the HST. What are your thoughts on the reduction of the federal portion of the HST on new builds?
I'm mixed. I'll be 100% honest with you. I think it's a step in the right direction from the feds. I think, again, this is something that we can be more loud with, maybe starting as early as tomorrow. I just hope that the builders will turn the savings over to consumers. So when consumers are buying a new construction property, it actually will be much cheaper than it was.
All right. So again, complex mortgage lending is very complex, and it speaks to the need to have a professional like yourself, and I know that you advise people to access an unbiased mortgage consult or mortgage broker. Really, that's people's best alternative, right?
It certainly is. And today, Todd, obviously we know there's a federal election. And here in Halifax, we're having our regional symposium for Mortgage Professionals Canada, which I'm the Atlantic director. So I'm bringing the concerns from consumers and the mortgage industry to the national stage. And we're bringing all our partners together here today. So there's certainly a lot of talk about home ownership.
All right, so people listening right now, if they think they may or may not qualify or whatever, they can certainly reach out to you, right, Clinton, as always?
Certainly reach out to me or any unbiased mortgage professional in your area.
Okay, thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
Okay, take care. Clinton Wilkins, our mortgage guru. We'll chat with Claudia Chandler when we come back.